Undercover black owner grabs lunch at his own diner freezes when he overhears two cashiers' cruel mockery. Imagine walking into your own restaurant and hearing your employees mock you as if you don't even exist. They're laughing about that rich black guy who never shows up, calling him a ghost while he stands inches away. They shrug off newcomers from the shelter program, whisper that they'll never tip, never belong. What would you do if you discovered the people you trusted to carry on your family's legacy were tearing it down with every careless word? In the next 30 seconds, you'll witness how one owner's invisible presence ignites a scandal that forces everyone to confront the truth. If you believe that building a legacy means showing up when it counts, hit subscribe and like now, because what you're about to see will challenge everything you trust about leadership and loyalty. Comment below if you've ever been overlooked and stay tuned as we expose the scandal brewing behind these doors. Marcus Turner inherited Nana Mae's diner when his grandmother died, her life's work built from backyard smokers and second chances. He poured every dollar he had into keeping her promise alive, hire the overlooked, feed the hungry, and treat every face as family. Yet this week, regulars began whispering that something was broken. Online reviews popped up overnight. No heart feels hollow, just fast food posing as warmth. A longtime customer admitted his last 3 lunches came with cold service and late plates. Marcus's own managers confessed they'd seen staff clock-ins stare at their phones and ignore anyone who wasn't a familiar face. Convinced these rumors deserved more than office gossip, Marcus decided to disappear inside his own diner. At 12:46 p.m. yesterday, he slipped out of his usual blazer into a worn flannel and cap, carrying only cash. He entered amid the lunch rush, expecting at least a nod from someone who knew his name. Instead, he found silence and a cashier tossing aside his order without a glance. Standing in line, Marcus watched 2 employees crack jokes about that rich black owner who probably sleeps in until noon. They sneered at new hires from the shelter program, calling them charity cases. Marcus clenched his jaw, realizing his grandmother's vision was at risk of vanishing under indifference. Tonight, he sent out a single text team meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Be there. No explanation, no excuses. Tomorrow, he'll confront the people who carry Nana Mae's name and demand they remember what it truly stands for. During the peak lunch hour, Marcus slipped into the line behind a construction worker, wiping sweat from his brow, and a young mother calming her fussy toddler. He watched as 2 employees at the counter, Tyler, a lanky kid with a permanent half-smirk, and Zoe, whose gum snapped louder than the diner's old floorboards, barely glanced up when he placed his order. "Pulled pork sandwich, please," Marcus said, sliding a crumpled bill across the counter. Zoe tapped the screen without a word. As he shifted to the side, waiting, Tyler leaned in and whispered, just loud enough, "See that guy, rich black owner. Bet he's sipping kale smoothies in some high-rise daddy bought him." Zoe laughed, rolling her eyes. "Yeah, and those shelter hires? They're charity cases. Never tip, never last. Management's charity drive is killing us." Marcus felt his muscles go rigid. That familiar warmth Nana Mae had built with invited ex-offenders given fresh starts had been reduced to a punchline. He should have snapped, slammed down his cash-demanded respect. Instead, he held his breath, letting shock turn to a cold resolve. From the corner of his eye, he spotted Jordan, one of the shelter program hires, a wiry young man clutching his first-ever pay stub like a lifeline. Jordan's shoulders slumped when Tyler and Zoe snickered at his direction. His order ready, Jordan stepped forward, voice barely a whisper. "Thanks," and retreated to a corner booth. That moment struck Marcus like a blow. The diner's guiding principle wasn't just food, it was dignity. He remembered Nana Mae's gentle laugh when she said, "Marcus, a meal nourishes more than hunger. It feeds hope." Now that hope was being trampled by indifference. As the line advanced, Marcus counted the seconds before his sandwich arrived. He stared at the glossy photo on the wall, Nana Mae standing beside her first smoker, arms outstretched to strangers who became family. He thought of every person she had welcomed, the ex-offender who went on to build his own carpentry business, the single mother who earned her GED in that booth, the veteran who found purpose washing dishes. When Zoe finally placed the sandwich in front of him, she didn't look up. There, next customer. Her voice was flat, no thank you, no enjoy. Marcus reached for the sandwich, then paused. Instead of turning to leave, he stepped back, caught Zoe's eye, and in a low, even tone said, "You know who I am, right?" Zoe's eyes snapped open. She recognized him now, the last person she expected to see without a suit or a badge. For a heartbeat, she froze. Tyler glanced over, confusion and unease flickering across his face, but Zoe's defenses kicked in. "Sir, I'm just doing my job," she snapped, voice shaky. "Your job is to treat people with respect," Marcus replied softly. "Including me and including Jordan." He pointed toward the corner booth. Zoe's face flushed. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. A hush fell over the counter. Other customers turned, sensing tension. Marcus allowed himself a single calm breath. He didn't raise his voice, but every word carried the weight of everything Nana May had built. "You think this place is just a paycheck. You think I'm irrelevant. But you're wrong." He held Zoe's gaze, then looked at Tyler. "I walked in here invisible and heard my employees mock the values my grandmother died to protect. That ends today." With that, he turned and walked out the front door, leaving the collected crowd stunned. He didn't need to finish his sandwich to make his point. The conflict he had uncovered festered in every whispered insult and every uncaring glance. Outside, the sun hit the neon sign at an angle that made it flicker like a warning. Marcus stood for a moment, feeling the weight of the confrontation and the fierce determination rising within him. He knew the real battle wasn't won in 3 overheard sentences. It started here, in every heart that still believed in Nana May's vision. Tonight, he would prepare for the reckoning ahead, gathering proof, drafting the agenda, rehearsing each question. Tomorrow morning, he would demand accountability, not through anger, but through a reckoning of values. Because restoring this diner's soul would require more than a reprimand. It would require every person there to choose once and for all, whether they believed in second chances or in tearing down hope. Back in the cramped motel room, Marcus Turner stared at his reflection in the stained mirror, replaying every brutal whisper he'd overheard. He felt the sting of betrayal deepen into a cold conviction. This was no longer about a pulled pork sandwich or a harsh joke. It was about the heart of everything Nana May ever built. He pulled out his phone and typed a single stark message to the staff group chat: "Team meeting tomorrow at 9:00 a.m. sharp. Attendance required. No emojis, no excuses, just accountability." Then he downloaded every 1-star review, printed out handwritten notes from loyal customers, and assembled timestamps from his own security camera showing Tyler and Zoe ignoring newcomers. He flagged every complaint about cold service and late orders. Next, he sketched an agenda on a yellow legal pad. 1. The legacy of Nana May, reminder of why this diner exists. 2. Confronting what was overheard, exact words, exact time, exact location. 3. New standards, weekly walkthroughs, real customer feedback cards, mandatory empathy training. 4. Choices: stay and recommit or leave with 2 weeks' pay and a recommendation. He booked a rental suit for the morning charcoal blazer, crisp white shirt symbols of the authority he'd soft-pedaled for too long. He rehearsed his opening lines, calm, unflinching, each word laced with the weight of generations. He planned to let silence do half the work, standing at that front counter, letting the staff feel every second of discomfort before he spoke. As midnight approached, Marcus gathered the evidence into a single folder labeled "What We Stand For." He double-checked that Jordan's first pay stub was inside, a reminder that this diner once lifted people up rather than mocking them. He wrote Nana May's favorite mantra at the top: "A meal without compassion is just an empty plate." He fell asleep with his phone beside him, buzzing with reminders of tomorrow's reckoning. When he woke before dawn, the neon sign outside still flickered in his mind, a promise and a warning. Today, the invisible owner would claim his place, no disguise, no detours, and force every employee under that green and gold glow to choose between tearing down a legacy or rebuilding it brick by brick. At 9:00 a.m., Marcus Turner stepped through the front door in a charcoal blazer and crisp white shirt, the evidence folder tucked under his arm. The hum of the lunch rush had yet to begin. Instead, a hush fell over the dining room as employees Tyler, Zoe, Jordan, Lily, Sam, and the rest assembled in scattered clusters, uncertain whether to sit or stand. Marcus let the silence stretch until it felt heavier than any accusation. Then he placed the folder on the counter and cleared his throat. "Good morning," he began, voice steady. "I won't keep you long, but I need you to hear me clearly." He opened the folder and laid out the one-star reviews, the customer comments, Jordan's pay stub, and the security footage timestamps. With every piece of paper here, he continued, "You can see exactly what this place has become. Cold service, late orders, and worst of all, a culture of disrespect, mocking the very people we pledged to help." He locked eyes with Zoe and Tyler. "Yesterday I walked in as a guest. I heard you call me a ghost, sneer at the shelter hires, laugh at Jordan's first paycheck. That wasn't a private joke, it was a betrayal." Zoe swallowed hard. Tyler shifted his weight gaze, flicking to the floor. Marcus turned to the rest. This diner was built on second chances and compassion. Nana May believed a meal could change a life. But when you treat people like inconveniences, you strip them of hope. He flipped through the agenda he'd drafted: weekly walkthroughs, real customer feedback cards, mandatory empathy workshops. "You have a choice today," Marcus said, voice firm. "You can recommit to this mission, show up, check in, and treat every customer and coworker with dignity. Or you can walk away with 2 weeks' pay and a recommendation." A crackle ran through the room as Lily and Sam exchanged glances. Jordan straightened, hope flickering in his eyes. Tyler exhaled first. I want to stay," he stammered. Zoe's voice followed, quieter, but determined. "Me too." One by one, heads nodded around the room. The hush lifted, replaced by a cautious energy. Marcus closed the folder and smiled, a tight but genuine curve of relief. "Then let's rebuild," he said. "Starting now." And as he walked toward the back, the diner's neon glow seemed to flicker in approval, its soul awakened once more by the courage to confront the truth. Within hours of the showdown, change rippled through Nana May's diner like a fresh breeze. By late morning, the register chimed, not with resignation, but with genuine welcomes. Tyler greeted each customer by name, his usual smirk replaced by a tentative smile. Zoe moved behind the counter with purpose, her eyes meeting every guest's as she handed out coffee refills. At 11:30 a.m., a young couple walked in, skeptical at first. They'd read the new feedback cards at the door, handwritten prompts asking, "How can we serve you better today?" and decided to test the claim. Tyler approached. "What can I get you to?" he asked, crystal clear. They ordered burgers and fries, then paused. Actually, the woman said, "We'd love to hear your favorite dish." Tyler brightened and recommended the catfish special. They left, smiling, full plates and fuller hearts. Meanwhile, Jordan, the very employee whose first paycheck had been mocked, stood by the sink stacking plates with quiet pride. Lily, one of the veteran servers, slapped a compassion count sticker on the tip jar before bustling back to her station. Even Sam, the dishwasher who'd once clocked in late, arrived on time, nodding to Marcus as he walked past. By 1:00 p.m., the lunch rush had smoothed into a steady flow. Marcus observed from the corner booth, arms folded but relaxed. When a single mother with a toddler arrived, Zoe knelt beside the child, offering crayons and a smile, exactly the small kindness Nana May had once shown. The real shock came at 2:15 p.m., when an unfamiliar man in a charcoal suit entered alone. He scanned the room, brows furrowed, until Tiana called out from her station, brought him water and a menu. He ordered the peach cobbler, and when it arrived, whispered, "This reminds me of my grandmother." He left with containers for later and a promise to return. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the booths, Marcus stepped away from his notebook. The diner hummed with genuine warmth, laughter, easy banter, shared jokes. It wasn't perfect. Tyler still stumbled over a greeting, Zoe still hesitated with orders, but the change was unmistakable. For the first time since Nana May's passing, her legacy wasn't just a memory on the wall. It was alive in the voices, the smiles, and the quiet conviction that compassion wasn't optional. It was the very currency of this place. As afternoon light filtered through the diner's windows, Marcus Turner gathered the team once more around the counter. He placed 2 slim folders on the Formica surface, one stamped "Commit to Compassion," the other labeled "Depart with Dignity." His voice was calm, but unforgiving. Inside this folder, he explained, nodding toward the first, you'll find our new mission statement, training schedules, and feedback targets. It's for those who choose to rebuild Nana May's legacy with me. He tapped the second. In here is 2 weeks' pay, a glowing recommendation, and my thanks for your honesty if you decide this isn't the right place for you. A palpable tension rippled through the staff. Tyler's jaw clenched as he eyed the folders. Sam glanced at Jordan, whose eyes reflected a mixture of hope and fear. Lily folded her arms, lips pursed. Zoe's smile faltered a decision she clearly dreaded. Marcus watched them silently for a beat, before continuing. No one here is being punished today. This is about clarity. Do you believe in second chances and compassion as currency, or is this just a paycheck? He folded his hands. You have until closing time to choose. An uneasy hush settled. The clang of dishes and sizzle from the grill suddenly sounded intrusive, even brutal against the weight of their decision. Jordan was first. He stepped forward, breath catching in his throat. With a trembling hand, he pushed the commit folder toward Marcus. His voice cracked, but his resolve did not. I'm staying. This place saved me. I won't let it die. Lily followed, sliding her own signature across the mission documents with a flourish. I've been here since Nana May's last years, she said quietly. I'm not leaving her kitchen. Sam signed next, nodding at Jordan. I owe this place my mornings, he muttered, eyes bright. Tyler hovered longer, glancing at the depart folder as if it were a lifeline. But then he remembered Marcus standing silent and stinging behind Zoe yesterday. He thought of Jordan clutching that first paycheck of Lily, setting out stickers that read, Compassion Counts of Sam, arriving early for a change. With a slow breath, he reached out and placed his pen in the commit folder. Only Zoe remained, her hands shaking as she looked at both options. I'm sorry, she whispered. I thought I could fake it, but I don't have Nana May's heart. She pushed her folder across the counter. I need to leave. The room held its breath. Marcus nodded, once eyes gentle but firm. Thank you for your honesty, he said. Zoe stood, picked up her carefully folded uniform, and walked out into the dying light. As the clock ticked toward closing, the newfound solidarity among those who stayed felt electric. They weren't perfect, none of them were, but they had chosen purpose over convenience. Marcus watched them disperse back to their stations, the air charged with determination. In that moment, Nana May's diner took its first true breath of renewal. The choice had been made, compassion would reign, or the doors would close. And as the neon sign flickered on it, now reflected the faces of people brave enough to stay. By the end of the week, Nana May's diner pulsed with a new energy, one built on respect, not routine. Morning rushes felt alive again. Marcus watched from the corner as Tyler high-fived Jordan after a seamless order. Lily guided a first-timer through the menu with genuine excitement. Sam cleared plates with a sense of pride. The tip jar overflowed not because of tech reviews, but because gratitude finally outweighed indifference. Regulars returned, whispering that the warmth had come back, that someone finally cared. A former shelter program guest brought homemade muffins in thanks. A delivery driver lingered for coffee, chatting easily about his day. Even the neon sign outside seemed to glow steadier, as if nodding in approval. Marcus stood behind the counter without a folder in hand, only a memory pinned above the prep table, his grandmother's smile beaming from a sepia photo. He thought of her mantra, water the garden or watch it die. He realized that culture isn't built once it's tended daily through small acts of kindness and accountability. Nana May's legacy wasn't rescued by confrontation alone, but by every person choosing compassion over convenience. If you've ever let your guard down and let a vision wither, remember this story. Show up, listen, take responsibility, because no matter what you build, its soul depends on the people who protect it. As the weeks turned into months, the transformation at Nana May's diner rippled far beyond the dining room. Marcus Turner began to receive handwritten letters tucked into feedback cards, stories from customers whose lives had been quietly reshaped by the kindness and respect they discovered under that green and gold neon glow. One letter read, I came here broken, homeless, hungry, and ashamed, thinking I was invisible. Then Lily sat beside me, shared her own story of struggle, and insisted I take a free meal. That act didn't just fill my stomach. It gave me hope to apply for my GED again. I passed last month. Another card scrawled in bold handwriting proclaimed, "Thank you for giving my daughter a coloring sheet and a smile when she was scared." That small kindness reminded me that the world still cares. Marcus realized that rebuilding the diner's culture was not a one-off event. It required a continual recommitment to human connection. He instituted monthly story nights where staff and customers could share personal triumphs and setbacks over off-the-menu dinners. He partnered with the local shelter program to hire more participants, each newcomer introduced to the team with a personal anecdote from their referral. He launched Legacy Day, an annual celebration of Nana Mae's birthday, featuring community potlucks and pay-it-forward vouchers for strangers in need. Within 6 weeks of the reckoning, revenue climbed not merely because of buzz around the confrontation, but because patrons returned seeking authenticity. Yelp and Instagram brimmed with photos and testimonials, not staged marketing shots, but genuine, unprompted moments of compassion. A food critic who once wrote a scathing review published a follow-up column titled, "How One Owner's Conscience Saved a Diner," praising the unwavering emphasis on dignity over profit. Even internal dynamics shifted permanently. Tyler, who had mocked Marcus in that critical moment, applied for a leadership role in the morning shift, determined to mentor new employees. Zoe, who chose to leave, returned as a volunteer trainer for empathy workshops, crediting the diner experience with awakening her own desire to serve others. Jordan, the newcomer from the shelter, exceeded every expectation, winning an Employee of the Month award and going on to launch a nonprofit focused on job training. Marcus documented these milestones in a quarterly newsletter sent to every team member and stakeholder. Each issue opened with Nana Mae's motto, "A meal without compassion is just an empty plate." It recounted progress number of shelter hires placed in permanent jobs, total meals donated on Legacy Day, the percentage increase in positive customer feedback, and included candid reflections from staff about what they had learned. This data-driven approach offered more than metrics. It provided a roadmap for other small businesses struggling to maintain culture under pressure. Marcus began speaking at local entrepreneurship forums, sharing his story as a blueprint how invisibility can corrode values and how intentional confrontation mixed with empathetic leadership can revive purpose. His talks were raw and unfiltered, often punctuated with the exact words overheard from Tyler and Zoe, words that became a rallying cry for accountability in any organization. Yet even as the diner's reputation soared, Marcus never let success breed complacency. He resisted offers to franchise the brand, insisting that each location would dilute Nana Mae's legacy rather than amplify it. Instead, he focused on deepening community ties, collaborating with local schools to host breakfast with books events, donating kitchen space for food education workshops, and maintaining a scholarship fund in Nana Mae's name for students pursuing culinary arts or social work. By the one-year anniversary of that fateful meeting, Nana Mae's diner had served over 10,000 complimentary meals to those in need, hired more than 50 individuals from marginalized backgrounds, and inspired at least a dozen other businesses to adopt similar second-chance hiring policies. The neon sign that once flickered like a warning now glowed steadily, a beacon of resilience reminding everyone who passed by that a strong foundation demands ongoing care. Marcus often reflected on the irony that his harshest lesson came not from a competitor or a financial crisis, but from the very people he had entrusted with his grandmother's dream. He learned that leadership isn't measured by delegation alone, but by presence, generosity, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. More importantly, he discovered that cultural revival depends on creating safe spaces for vulnerability, where a single overheard insult can spark a movement toward reconnection. As the diner's lights dimmed each night, Marcus would stand outside for a moment, his silhouette framed by the neon glow and the lingering warmth of laughter within. He'd whisper Nana Mae's name, thankful that her vision, once nearly lost, had been reclaimed by the most powerful force of all human compassion. And as he locked the doors, he carried with him a conviction stronger than any profit margin that when you water the garden of culture every day, its roots grow deep enough to withstand any storm.